Big on my boy Shady Grady. I won't call him that because it rhyme. I always like to make words rhyme. But anyway, Shady Grady, he's the superstar of Polk County. Where's Polk County, Florida at? Polk County is the county right next to Disney World. Between Tampa and Disney World, there's Polk County. It's kind of rural. The biggest city over there is like, but Grady, he runs with an iron fist. Iron fist, he loves to catch people messing up. But I always like him because he's like a little cocky dude. I think he does one of these probably twice a month, maybe once a week. If he has a good story, he just love to bust people, even his own people. If he catches slipping, he don't play.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being with me. Some might ask why I ask you all to join us for just 3 search warrants and a seizure of drugs. Well, I think you'll understand that it goes much, much deeper than that. And that's how it culminated on the 22nd of June when we served 3 search warrants, 2 of them on 37th Street and 1 of them on Avenue M in the Inwood area just outside the city of Winter Haven. But it's a family affair. It's
Winter Haven is right next door to Disney World. It's a city. You'll see it
a
off I-4.
generational event. We have 3 generations of Rogers who are actively involved in the trafficking and sale of drugs.
Not the Rogers, not 3 generations. Shoot, I mean, they're well known in Winter Haven, the haven of the winter.
Now, I continue to hear over and over this false narrative that they're trying to push all across this country that drugs are low level, non-violent.
I'm trying to figure out where does he get this part from? Where does he keep saying that somebody's pushing across the country that drugs is low level, blah blah blah. That's why sometimes I'll be like, when I hear this part, are you backwards? Did you ever hear this part when people say drugs is low level and all that? I hear about weed. Weed ain't gonna do nothing. RCK, well, that's all BS with the weed part. But other drugs, and he talking about fentanyl, heroin, all that. Those drugs is highly addictive. So I be like, where does he get this information from? I don't know. But it's Grady and it's Florida. So no disrespect to my Floridians, but some of y'all natives, because Florida is like an island. If you look at it on the map, there's no states on the side or sort of bottom, just the top. So it's kind of like an island. If they don't travel out, everything is inbred and inbound.
Okay,
Inbred, that's what I'm gonna say.
low level,
Inbred.
non-violent drugs. Well, I think you'll
And I bet you he's been there for 20 generations.
understand that it's not just a low level, non-violent drug. So it culminated with a search warrant. These folks aren't new to us. The Rogers family,
He, like I say, he said they ain't do this. They been from this county boss hall. That's how it be. Then when he say the county sheriff, the county is big now. I think it's one of the largest ones in Florida, if not the largest. But that's how they be knowing they people. So once they get you and they start knowing you, they gonna harass you.
has been around for decades. Now, think about it. Either we began this investigation
Yeah, he used to arrest his great great grandpa. And I want to say some other stuff, but I'm not.
on November of last year, or we began it 30 years ago. That's right. 37th Street, same area of Inwood, same houses. We have been putting these people in jail and some of them in prison for 3 generations, and they continue to sell drugs.
Yeah, maybe your great grandpappy. I don't know what Grady history. I have to do some research and do a video on him because he love to do it. He love to do it. Let's let him continue.
In fact, I'm going to introduce you to at least one of them that we arrested in a major league trafficking wire investigation, wiretap in 2020.
And I'm not for or against the fentanyl. It's everybody say enough fentanyl to kill 9,500 people, right? So they assuming every pill could kill, right? But who ain't nobody making these people use the fentanyl. You know what I'm saying? I rest in peace. I lost 4 people to ODs, you know, recently, you know, and I said in the last 4 years, I know 4 people who passed, got some fentanyl mixed in something they had, and that was it. But they mixing that fentanyl in all the drugs, even weed on the street. There's most drugs you can mix, but they mixing it, because they feel you get a dash of that. Hey, that's gonna make you high. And some people looking for that high. Some people not.
That hasn't even been a trial yet, and I'm going to give you details how we are arresting them once again. But as we go through this, it is important for you to understand that these folks have created death and destruction for many, many families for a very long time.
He said they created. They didn't create the pill. They're not making the pill. They're not making it, and they're not making the people use it. See, they could be creating the death if they're making you use it. They're making you use it. Now, most people who buy that fentanyl, if it's in a pill, they know what it is. It's not like they selling you something else and saying it's not fentanyl. Come on, stop.
When we did the search warrants, we seized on that particular day 3 pounds of meth, 224 grams of fentanyl.
And I just did a video. A guy got caught with 95 pounds. You talking about 3 pounds. But where are they getting this meth from? I mean, this fentanyl, I'm sorry. Or did he say meth? Fentanyl, meth.
Now, folks, 224 grams of fentanyl is potentially enough to overdose and kill 95,000 people.
Okay, like I said, it's a potential. 95,000 people use it. But most people out here ain't using fentanyl. They're not. They're not shopping for fentanyl. It's only a certain percentage of people in the United States who's using hardcore drugs. And we know what the hardcore is. Excluding marijuana is not a hardcore. I don't even think LSD is. It might make you go insane if you take the wrong thing. I know PCP is hardcore, cocaine, fentanyl. And in a few years they had meth. In a few years they're gonna have another one because they keep coming out with different ones. For a few years it was meth. My years it was crack. But all of them are still available. But these last couple of years they just pushing the fentanyl. Because before they was pushing the meth. So now it's fentanyl. We'll see in the next 5 years what's next.
Did you hear what I said? 95,000 people. We also seized a kilo of cocaine, almost a kilo of MDMA, oxycodone,
MDMA, that's ecstasy. I remember they used to have the ecstasy back in '89. They used to have sex drug. I ain't never used it.
a 9 millimeter handgun. Imagine a convicted felon with a handgun, right? I mean, that's not anything new to most.
Imagine a criminal doing what criminals do. What about the people who not criminals? Just because you say, "Oh, he a felon," but he a criminal, he don't care about that. He's selling dope, pounds of it. He don't give a care about that. You gotta catch him. It's like look, only thing that they caught them because they already know them. Like you said, I've been knowing them for decades. But it's somebody out here that you don't know who about to do something criminal, who ain't never been caught, or doing something who ain't never been caught. They can have a gun. Come on, man, stop. It's still Second Amendment right to bear
Most of
arms.
you, and a pill press. Where's our pill press? It's supposed to be here. Do we have it someplace? Y'all didn't bring it here? Okay. So I want you to see the pill press or pictures of the pill press. That's right. They are
Yeah, you can get a pill press, but I was listening to some other criminals on the YouTube while I was watching about these guys who was making some millions, right? And he was like, you can't just get the pill press. You have to be like registered, right? But he gave some information on how to go get one if you wanted to get one, where you can make pills, and that's how they can make all the labels on it and everything. I'm pretty sure it's just nothing but another metal press. You can put a plate in there and make it. Anything that they make at the store, you can make at home.
So
I know I got a degree in
sophisticated that
manufacturing.
some of them are pressing the pills themselves.
Attention retirees, if you're willing to be at your computer from 9 a.m. to 10:45 a.m.
So you can get it either cocaine, they'll make it into crack cocaine, they'll press it into pills, however you want it.
Hey, we a full service store, baby. How you want it? We got it. We criminals. We do this. We've been doing this. Our whole, like you said, we've been messing with them for 3 generations. This is what we do in this county of Winter Haven. If you're visiting from out of town, to go to Disney World, Tampa, come on, stop by. Basically, he almost advertising because they ain't gonna stop. You think they gonna stop? No, they not gonna stop because it's poverty over there in the county too. It's a big county, but it's pockets of Florida that's poverty, not like Miami and all that. I mean, this is for the native people. Like, if you come from another state and you go there, you're not gonna go to these areas and live or nothing. You're gonna go somewhere else. But those people been there their whole life. They don't know nothing else. I guarantee you. And nice people, real Southern hospitality for sure. But you're gonna meet some different people because, like I said, and most it's just like in your neighborhood. If you live there forever, it's some people who ain't never been nowhere else, you know. And it's got this rule. They got places with alligators, all that that ain't even built up in nothing, swamps, all that. But then you got parts like you in Disney World area. It's like a little town. But let's continue.
It's interesting that we first start off to talk about the patriarch of the family, Odiah. Odiah Rogers is 69 years of age. And as I said before, he started his crime career 30 years ago with an aggravated battery arrest. He, over the years, has accumulated 14 felonies.
So he's saying he started his crime career at 40. That's basic. Because you say 69 minus 30, minus the one, so we'll say 39. That's kind of late. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of late. I guess after they locked him up and he went to the joint and said, forget it, I can't get no job or whatever. He from Polk County. He been there his whole life. I'm gonna talk to one of my Polk County friends. They might have heard, but I don't know nobody from Winter Haven. I know some people from Polk County, but still, Winter Haven is like a suburb of Lakeland.
Felony arrests, 6 misdemeanor arrests. He's been to prison one time, and yes, we served a search warrant at his house, one of the 3 search warrants, where we seized more drugs.
So he went to jail in his 40s to the pen, got his first felony conviction because he said for 30 years. He didn't say, he said 30 years, he's 69, right? So he got a felony conviction somewhere in this. But what was he doing before that? Was he working a job and lost his job? Florida is not plentiful in that area. Winter Haven is not plentiful. Good paying jobs. It's always jobs. Let's continue. Grady got the good job. He making the good money. The other guy, he might just be struggling to survive. And I'm not making excuses for the guy.
And he is still in prison. He's not made bond. Then there's his
Well, he said he's still in the prison. He's still in the joint. You know, doing what?
girlfriend, Teresa Prince. She's 59. That's Odiah's girlfriend.
Man, they some old people, man. But she looked like drugs. Use.
She distributes drugs for Odiah. She didn't think it was any big deal. She went to jail. Now she has bonded out. She's the only one that has bonded out.
I bet she did. And I ain't gonna even say what I'm gonna say. I always try to not say anything racial, but I bet she did. She probably the police.
Then there's Pop Rogers, Kenneth. Kenneth Rogers is 38 years of age. He's one of the sons of Odiah, and he's kind of now taken over the head of the organization.
There is no organization. Now he done made it the daddy in jail. And the other girl, she was helping him. She went to jail, got out. I'm assuming her parents got her out. They know she on drugs, whatever, or she told something and got out. But now this 40-year-old, basically, he heading the organization. Organization of what? There is no organization. The daddy in jail, so he not running nothing. He said he been in there.
He's had a crime spree for the last 24 years. His first arrest was in
He said a spree.
1999, and it was a simple arrest for shoplifting. He is the one that was arrested as a major trafficker in 2020 when we instituted a wire investigation, or a telephone wiretap as we know them. We arrested him then, and he bonded out. He's not been to trial yet.
My thing, who was they tapping? Was they tapping him or tapping somebody else? And then he came up in there and tapped. You know, that's why when I be on the phone, I don't do nothing illegal. Pardon me. But if you are doing something illegal, don't be talking to other people about it. Don't be discussing because you never know. Somebody else might be hot and get on your line, and then people start wondering, "Hey, what you doing?"
Yet on that night, on that 2020 arrest. So in 2023, April, guess what? While he's out on bond, while he has stipulations, we arrest him for possession of cocaine with intent to sell within 1,000 foot of a park. And he's got 21.
Hey, what you mean in the town? Now I know about the school, but the park. Why you can't go to the park? That's where all the gangs and dope used to hang in the city. It's not my city, but in different cities. I ain't talking about no towns in the cities. Take control of the park, whether it's a sport to be played, football and all that. That's our part. This our thing. But now they making that. But it don't matter. You can find a park within 1,000 feet almost anywhere because it's gonna be where people gonna congregate.
$1,000.
They need to make it 1,000 feet from any apartment or house. Let me
In
stop.
his
Let's go.
pocket. So he's facing major league time for a trafficking case. He makes bond. He continues on his criminal enterprise. And he's already been to prison 4 times. So here's another clear indication.
So he's not that smart. He got caught 4 times, right? So he ain't worried about going to the joint. Once you caught that many times, he said over 20 years, you done got caught 4 times. And but he might not, what else he gonna do? What else? He might not know nothing else. He might not know nothing else. He said, he been getting in trouble for 20 years. That's about the time when his father first went to the penitentiary 20 years ago. What was they doing before that? Maybe his father had a good job because something happened. He got fired. He was 40 years old. He was down on his luck. He didn't act right and ended up in the pen. Because that's when he said that's when his 23 years spree started. But that's irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, it's not rich in Polk County.
If you don't keep people like Pop Rogers locked up, he's going to be selling drugs to your kids, to your neighbors, to your.
He's selling to your kids, your neighbors, everybody. Everybody. Now the kids, he shouldn't be selling it to no kids. Now if your neighbor's using drugs, that's his fault. You trying to tell me an adult who buying drugs from another adult, it's the person who's selling the drugs' fault. It's his fault. The way Grady words this, but I'm like, Grady is like a super square dude who grew up in Polk County his whole life, probably. And what he say, he the law, he right. But come on, it's 2023. Judge Grady, and when you go down into these counties in Florida, in the rural parts, they still live like 1950. And I mean all the way 1950. Colored thing and everything. That's their views and all that. They ain't been nowhere. They have not. But let's continue. See, you see him with the uniform. Let's see him with it off.
relatives. And then there's Raphael Rogers, another son of Odiah. When I tell you it's a family affair, I'm not kidding. They're all in business together, illegal business. 24 years of crime himself. He's 39 years old. And he started out with a simple shoplifting charge. He's amassed 43.
But see, all that crime started, I don't know, unless they started when Grady started and he was a rookie and he been following their whole career because he seemed to know all this. He might even be from Winter Haven. Don't let it fool you because I'm like, it's weird, you know, because I'm like, it's weird for him to say, well, the father career started 20 years ago, but he's 70. So all of a sudden, out the blue, he turned 40, he just started doing crime. No, was he working before? Was he not? Something's not adding up. Something's not adding up. But he could have always been a criminal.
Felony arrest, 33 misdemeanor arrests. He's been to prison 2 times, and this was the second search warrant served at his house. Raphael is a bad guy. And then there's Tamir.
But I love how he paint the picture. I love how he paint the picture because he say he show these people and he just tell you this because he knows he's great.
Mika Rogers, she's 31. She's the daughter of Odiah. She's got 5 felony arrests, 3 misdemeanors. She's never been to prison. She's currently living with Odiah, where one of the search warrants was served, and she's known to sell drugs.
She 30 some years old living at home with her father trying to make it. Because obviously if they sell it, they ain't got no job.
I really wanted to get gifted, but I'm gonna share it.
Mood has become my favorite Delta 9 THC gummies.
I had to learn how
And
to
then
edit
there's
that out.
Dominique Rogers. He's 28, Odiah's son. He's younger than the others. He's got 38 felony arrests, 14 misdemeanor arrests. He's been to prison 1 time. But that's not all. Manatee County currently has him charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder where things went bad during a narcotics transaction. So not only
Well, if he got a felony and that happened, see, in Florida, a felon with a gun is, I think, 10, 20 years mandatory. It's at least 10. It's at least 10. So he up the river. And if he got a double homicide, you can forget it for him, you know. You can forget it.
does he have that occurring, but while he did that, he's also under investigation with us for providing fentanyl that created the death of a 19-year-old girl, a teenager, a victim.
Yeah, she's a teenager. But if you're over 18, you're an adult at the same time. It's like you turn 18, you're still a teenager because just that's a numerical thing. You're in a teens, you're in a teen, but you're an adult. I mean, he didn't force her to do it, and that's the sad thing that she passed from doing it. But he putting it all like, well, if he wasn't selling it, somebody's selling it. If it's not him, somebody is selling it. She didn't get the idea. Just she was walking down the street and you said, "Hey, try this," and she just tried it and died. No, he painting the picture. You know, I'm not trying to defend his thing or anything, but it just the way Grady be saying it. Like, if he wasn't selling it, she wouldn't have died. If she wasn't using it, she wouldn't have died. Don't try to make, oh, well, she's a teenager. She's a baby. No, she's old enough to know something. She doesn't know everything because, like I say, when you 18, you living at home and you come out in the world, you don't know nothing about life yet. You haven't learned anything. But don't make the wrong mistake because that's what it could cost you, your life. And most older people understand what I'm saying.
Now, I want you to think about that for a second, if you will. This guy had 38 previous felony arrests, 14 misdemeanors. He's been to prison. He and his family sell drugs. We are already investigating him and waiting for the lab analysis and the work to come back to tie him to a 19-year-old that overdosed from fentanyl that he or the family sold. And he gets charged with 2 murders in the meantime. Now,
Yeah, but he said it was in the middle of a dope deal, so we don't even know what happened. He might have had to. They might have was gonna kill him. So, so we don't know what happened, even though he was doing something he shouldn't be doing under the law. So, but we don't know what happened. So that's irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? They see this guy who want to be the judge, jury, and all that. Only thing his job is to arrest criminals. That's it. That's all the sheriff's job is to do and bring the evidence. That's it. He likes to limelight himself. He likes to limelight himself, and then he giving you that. He's slandering this guy. He's slandering, even though he could say, "Oh, we know this." Go pull dude stuff up and see what it really say. He's slandering him. You know, say if it was somebody who's gonna be on the jury for him, this guy's already slandered. He's slandered.
let me go over this again. Who thinks this is low level, nonviolent crime? If you perpetuate that position, you're just a nut.
But who said that? Honestly, he's the nut. Who is saying it's a low level crime? Selling fentanyl. I want to see. He said across the nation they're saying selling fentanyl is this. Only thing I hear people is advocating for THC. That's two different things. Um, what's the now? Andy Griffin. You know, that's his mentor is he live in a town like the Andy Griffin show. His county is like that, and he's the boss because he got all the answers. But he's not. You know what I'm saying? And he's biased. Not on a racial thing, but he's just biased because he knows everything.
You're crazy. You're out of your mind. Drugs.
Yeah, he is. He is. And he has the power to do it. And it's going to be a whole 50% of the people going to love him. Maybe more than that in that county, they're going to love him because they biased and they grew up there too. But, or especially the parents, oh, well, he the one who sold it. Once they kid dead, they hurt. They want somebody to pay. They ain't not gonna look at it like, hey, my daughter was using drugs and she OD. No, it's the dope dealer fault. It's somebody. It got to be somebody's fault. It can't be. It can't be her fault. There's never gonna be any responsibility or accountability. But in reality, if she wasn't using, it wouldn't have happened.
Are not low level, nonviolent crimes. They never have been. But we've got people running across this nation, some well meaning people, suggesting that it's really not that big a deal. It's not violent. It's not. You show me drugs, I'll show you guns and dead people every time. And you know, you may not think it's a big deal. You may think it's a low level nonviolent event.
I'm trying to figure out who is saying this. He keeps saying, who was he talking to? Who is he talking to? Who is these people? You know what I'm saying? I know in Oregon they made all the drugs legal or whatever. You see how that's working out for them. You just got a whole bunch of dope fiends and you can't run the town off that.
A low level nonviolent crime that doesn't need attention until it's your child that's dead. Think about it.
Yeah, because that's what they're thinking. Your child becomes an adult. Me, I was a child, I became an adult. Even right now, if something happened to me, my parents would feel the same. Hey, they will be looking for somebody to blame for the mistakes I made. The kid made the mistake. Well, it's not no kid, a 19-year-old. a young adult. Now, a lot of people gonna look at it, just like I said, when you 19, you don't know nothing about the world yet. Think you know everything, but you don't know. And look at him. Like I say, well, I'm gonna hold this guy accountable. But anyway, I digress on
About
that.
that. Think about if you were the parents of this 19-year-old girl who died from this fentanyl overdose. Or if you were the family of these two people that Dominic Rogers shot and killed. Think about that. So the next time anyone, whether on social media or mainstream media, wants to tell you that it's really not all that bad, you can suggest to them, are you a nut?
What is a
But if it, see, that's the part you missing. See, if it was legal, you know what would be happening. You know what would be happening. Now, see, I get where the people come with, because see, if it was legal in a controlled environment, they wouldn't be doing no dope deal on the street where the guns would come out, where somebody would get killed. Because that's make it illegal. They know they got to do it sneaky. Criminals, is two sides. You got the dope sellers and you got the dope jackers. Because if I jack you for your dope, who you gonna tell? You gonna go down to the police station? You just stole 2 kilos from me. You just stole my fentanyl. He know he can't do that. So only thing is, now he's in the do. You want to do with that, right? You only got two choices. You want to retaliate or you got to get out the way. But if you don't retaliate, it's gonna keep happening. You're gonna have to retaliate with violence, swift and forceful violence, and that's illegal too. It's gonna lead to a road of more illegal things. Like, dude, like he said, his whole family selling dope, right? They ain't known for jacking because he instated it. So dude could have went to go sell somebody some dope. They tried to jack him. He had to up and shoot them. No, it couldn't be like that. He not going. What you trying to say? He going to rob some dope dealers and kill them and then go back and no, that would be stupid. You know what I'm saying? He don't know and we don't know. But that's how he portraying it. Like, cause they're such a dangerous, bad family for the last 30 years. They're like the worst biker gang. You know what I'm saying, or something? How he portraying it.
Here's the third generation, Jordan Rogers. He's the grandson of Odiah.
Well, he born into it. If they've been doing it for the last 20 years and he only 20 something, he don't know. He just born and he there. He gotta live in that house and that's it. Well, if that's his mama he living with, cause he look like that lady, it could be his mama, whoever's son. If he living in a house with them, that's what he know. You know, they might not be teaching him intentionally, but he growing up seeing that for the last, because he said the grandfather been getting in trouble for 20 years. That's either the son of the guy or the girl. Let's see.
He's 21. Up until this search warrant, Jordan only had one previous arrest for fleeing to elude, and that was dropped. So while he's lived in and around this crime spree, this ongoing crime spree for his entire life, he was never at least caught up in it criminally until the search warrant was served and we caught him with a litany of drugs. But if you look at Jordan and his
But maybe he wasn't doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? You went inside the house where he living, and you found some drug stuff. Does that make it his? I don't know. I couldn't tell you that unless they got somebody that say he bought or sold from him. But maybe he wasn't. I don't know. Basically, he gonna say, "Well, he had a charge that was dropped." Then why are you even bringing it up? Why are you bringing it up? You just want to say he was arrested. He's a part of this. He's slandering. He painted a portrayal of this guy, and he don't look the best. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know him, but I'm just saying it if I just went specifically on what he's saying, he's a bad individual, even though he only got caught once.
entrance into the drug world and the crime world at his age, and then you overlay it to his parents, to his dad, who was Raphael, and then you overlay it to Odiah, who's his granddad, he's following the same pattern. He's living what he's learned at home his entire life. And that's sad. And he's the one that had the pill press where he was.
I don't know what he learned in this house. You can't say that. You know what I'm saying? Because like I say, he never got caught doing nothing, basically. So he's painting the picture. You don't know. He could. I don't know if he honor roll nothing. I know if he not. I know some honor roll students who in prison now in Florida who got and started doing dumb stuff, and they wasn't stupid kids. They're not graduated everything, and I'm like, why you do that? Why you got 40 counts? You know, he'll be back on the street. Peace up to my little homie. Hey, I'm gonna tell you, I always told him the right things, but he did what he wanted to do. Why? I don't know.
And we believe he's the one that was pressing the pills into all kinds of drugs. The third generation. So, dad, granddad have taught him the business well.
Now, see, you assuming. Now, everybody could say, well, how else could it be? You don't know if they was telling him to do it or not. But he was growing up around it, so, because they said the press was his, it wasn't his daddy or his granddaddy press. Shoot, he could have just been around criminality. And you see how the young people listen to the rap songs, they all want to be bout it. In my year, that's what it was. Bout it, we bout it. Whatever they do now.
I'd like to point out that Teresa was released. I also have some juveniles here. One was charged with misdemeanor, two with felonies. I suggest to you that these juveniles who aren't blood relative that we can determine at this stage of the investigation, but are there living in this environment, that's also the next generation. And when we arrested them and sent them to juvenile, they didn't score out enough to stay in lockup. So the system has helped perpetuate this problem with its lack of attention to the juveniles because they've already figured out with this arrest, whoa.
Well, they juvenile, so, but Grady is like, he's just a cop. He the captain of the sheriff or the lead sheriff, but he got all the answers. I told you, he grew up in Polk County his whole life. Probably never lived nowhere else. But he got all the ingenious stuff. But I doubt it. And he the kind of dude get one of them juveniles 50 years, you know. But let's listen to what he got to say.
They're not going to keep me locked up for this until one day we do for a long time. For second degree murder, maybe one day, or fentanyl overdose deaths where you kill someone one day. I've also left out a couple of the other guys. They are part of the trafficking organization, but they're not the family. These guys here.
Did you know that you could get 50 to over 150,000?
So what he's saying is so many words. If we keep them locked up, ain't nobody else gonna fill their shoes. Ain't nobody. If you give them all 50 years, all the people 50 years, lock them all up. The fentanyl gonna dissipate. All the crime in Polk County gonna stop because they running the whole thing. Ain't nobody else gonna come fill their shoes. Come on, man, y'all get out of fantasy land. Criminals gonna criminal. They don't care about what he's saying. Nothing. The criminals don't care what I'm saying. Nobody's saying. They doing that hopefully for profit. Some might be doing it for adrenaline, but some doing it for profit, you know. So what he's saying is, he basically said, just lock them all up. Okay, you lock that whole group up. They gone. You think ain't no be no more fentanyl sold in the United States? It's all gonna stop. If you even lock up the cartel leader, the leader of the cartel, where it come from? You think it all the dope just stop through the whole world? No. Use the math. You're gonna save somebody. Use the math.
They're trafficking in the drugs, but they're not related by blood. This family affair, this Rogers family affair, has been alive and well for a long time. They've been in and out of jail. numerous times, and as I outlined to you, they've been to prison as well. So when's enough enough? When's the system going to say it's time that we take these people out? Now, as a side note, when we served this search warrant, we were assisted by the Lakeland Police Department and the Highlands County Sheriff's Office SWAT teams. Very professional SWAT teams that assisted us because we wanted a SWAT team on each house to keep the violence down. We were able to execute the search warrants.
Who said the balance was up? He, like I say, he loves this. He loves it.
No one was injured. The appropriate people were arrested. And the neighborhood continued to thank us for our work. Now, they're scared of the Rogers. What I've talked about is their criminal arrest and when they've gone to jail. I've not talked about all the intimidation they've done in the neighborhood. I've not talked about one of the very few unsolved homicides we have in this county that's on 40th Street, 3 streets over, that I believe in my heart and soul they got a part of that some way.
Yeah, because he believed it. Because he believed it. He said 3 streets over now. He said Day Street, but you don't know. He not, like I say, he the whole judge conviction and everything. And I'm not against because he could be right. I'm just saying. Because he's like, I'm wholeheartedly no. But if you know, they would be locked up for doing it. So you don't know. Or you would have already had the evidence. Somebody would have said something. Woo, woo, woo. He's biased.
But do you think anybody's going to talk to us with the Rogers family right there? No, because they're afraid that they may be the next one that's killed. So at the end of the day, know this, that once again we've arrested the Rogers family. This time we've arrested all 3 generations at one time. But the Rogers and everyone else should understand that we're going to continue to arrest you and arrest you and arrest you. My narcotics and organized crime folks that work this investigation are simply the very best. And they've done a remarkable amount of work this time in order to do this very complex investigation and bring its culmination together last Thursday. Are there any questions?
Sheriff, would you be able to talk, maybe briefly, but just about the trends you're seeing with fentanyl in the county?
Sure. Here's what I know about fentanyl. Fentanyl is coming across the southern border, through the porous border, where there's a crisis. And they're bringing that fentanyl into the United States and to include the United States, every state, and every county, I suggest, in every state. And we see the fentanyl deaths in waves. So we know when there's another wave of fentanyl that hits, because the market's here, they've distributed it, some die. Then it calms down, maybe calms down for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then we see some more fentanyl or drug-related deaths. Look, this fentanyl's killing thousands upon thousands of people across this country. It is unbelievable. Cocaine, methamphetamine kills you normally over years. We start seeing people at 40, 45, 50, where they've just wore out their body, die from these other drugs. How fast does fentanyl kill you? Like that. One time. And they're mixing it. We see it mixed with cocaine. We see it mixed with methamphetamine. We see it mixed with heroin. We've seen it sprinkled on our cannabis, that non-dangerous drug cannabis. We've actually seen fentanyl and other drugs spread on it as
Now, what he's saying right there, that's all true. Because criminals trying to make money. They trying to make money and they use that fentanyl. Because you get a drop of that on some couple, little bit of weed, gonna get you high.
well. But fentanyl, unfortunately, is not regressing, it's increasing. We're seeing more and more fentanyl deaths over the last few years, not less.
Is fentanyl more prevalent in Winter Haven? I remember a few months back there were two men arrested for.
At Mission, we know nothing shuts you down more than heat, so we developed instant cooling fabrics to keep you cool.
A man who overdosed in Volusia County, and they were arrested because they sold him fentanyl.
Sure.
So is it more prevalent in Winter Haven?
No, it's not more prevalent. And I thank you for asking that question because, sometimes I have people say, well, is there more prostitution in Polk County because you arrest prostitutes? And I go, no, because you investigate and you investigate with energy and enthusiasm and you seek out these criminals. It doesn't mean there's more of it. It means you're identifying it and taking them into custody. The same things with fentanyl and all of these drugs. I have organized crime teams that are focused on large-scale drug operations. I have narcotics units that do undercover work. I have street crimes units that do street crimes, drugs. So we're going out to these communities because it's not just a drug problem. It's not just a death problem. It's quality of life problems in neighborhoods where people are complaining. They're up all night. They don't ever sleep. They keep me up all night. So we're fighting this drug at every level, and that's why you see this. I suggest to you that if you look across this state and across this nation, that we're in the very grips of a drug disaster that people want to ignore and push back on. I can remember they didn't start recently, maybe in the early 2000s. Oh, it's not a war against drugs. Call it what you want, it's killing your kids. And then while they're trying to legalize more drugs in the country, we see more drugs killing more people. And fentanyl has come on the market with a vengeance, and it's all over the place, and it's pouring across our border from Mexico and then spreading through the entire United States.
You're never gonna stop crime. You're never gonna stop crime. Because that drug, fentanyl, all these drugs is not just going across the United States, it's going across the world. But in some countries, they don't even play that. You get caught with that kind of stuff, they just kill you. They just kill you. They got people in Mexico locked up for drugs. They got people in Colombia locked up for drugs. China, name a country that don't got nobody locked up for dope. Come on, stop. Stop. It's like good versus evil. It's always gonna be a bad guy.
Sounds like you're concerned that some of the younger ones are going to continue on the family business as they go on. Is there anything that can be done to sort of break the cycle so they can hopefully not, continue on this operation?
The sad part about it is, you don't retrain kids that are 15, 16, 17, 18. You hope you get them to counseling and services, but that's their environment. As long as they go back to 37th Street and these guys aren't locked up, if your name's Rogers and you live in Inwood in and around 37th Street, you're going to sell drugs. They're just
Yeah, but what he said is a fact. If they from that environment, they don't have no job, they don't have no alternative. They gotta eat. You know what I'm saying? They gotta eat. They gotta move around. How many generations? How long they lived on 37th Street? They could be living there 100 years. 100 years, and I'm not lying. Like I said, when you go to some of those counties, they've been living there shit since the freedom, since 1865. And probably been living there before that, but not under the circumstances they live in now. Don't take it for granted. It's part of And when you go down south in the rural parts, it's people who live there for that long.
Just going to do that just as sure as God made little green apples. They're going to.
When you come up to like big cities, LA, New York, Chicago, those is generational migrate, but then you got the people who never left, who always been there since the war. And I'm talking about the civil.
Sell drugs if they're not locked up. That's what they do, and they do it very well. And they're making.
No, they are not doing it very well, Grady. They're not doing it well. They're doing it very poorly. They're not doing it very well because if they was, you wouldn't even know
Making money and your kids are dying. And if you don't think that they won't shoot you, Dominique Rogers shot and killed 2 people in Manitoba.
doing a drug deal. He wasn't just driving down the street busting at people. He even said it was doing a drug deal. A drug deal gone bad. So that's I've been in a couple of them, so you know, and I'm not gonna elaborate.
T County. If you don't think they won't overdose you and kill you, as we're investigating now, they sure enough will.
$140,000 worth of drugs in the homes. How large of an operation do you consider that to be? Do you think there's more drugs elsewhere?
These are perennial street level dealers and low level traffickers. They never wanted or never had the ability to get up to the major stuff. But so the traffic, the flood of traffic in the community to buy these drugs are remarkable. They also deliver outside the community. So at the end of the day, that is their business model, and they are business people.
You said they're not trying to get to the major trap. They're not trying to get to the major trap. They're just doing that, just to have enough money, probably pay their little house, eat, and that's it. Just survival stuff. They probably don't got no fancy cars or nothing. I bet you. I want to see what they if, like. They become. Oh, they not no high level. Yeah, they're just little peddlers. You know, they're just little peddlers, and there's some more. It's some more of them all around Polk County. Gang of them. If they ain't got no little legitimate job, they probably peddling or
Make no
using.
mistake about it, they are absolutely business people and have been very successful for a long time.
You said locking them up doesn't work. Obviously,
They are not successful for a long time because if they was, you wouldn't know them, Grady. Grandpa and Grandpa in the joint. He in that module. I call jails and prisons modules.
they get locked up, they get released, they briefly sell drugs. What about the people on the drugs? Is there a need for treatment facilities or more resources for them?
Sure, locking them up does work. It's when they're not locked up that they're back selling drugs. The only way to keep these people from dealing drugs is to lock them up. But
You think he can't sell drugs in jail? He probably got some in there selling now. If he could get it in, he probably serving. Because that's how he make his money, and that's what he do. That's what he do. We gonna lock the 21-year up. We gonna give him life. Forget it. But I'm saying this major stuff in Polk County, like in it, because what other crimes is going on? But if you go in the surrounding cities like Orlando and Tampa, you got murders and all that. He wasting 30 minutes on these people, peddlers.
the people that
I'm just saying having this whole press conference for it because I'm like, you don't need no 30-minute press. Arrest him, take him, let it go. You know, let the court do what they got to do. But he's so under himself. And then look, you in Polk County, Florida.
have addictions to drugs absolutely need drug treatment. We provide drug treatment, not enough, but we provide it. I say we, the system. Does there need to be more of that? Yes, but I can tell you from decades of experience myself, if you send somebody to a drug treatment program and they don't want to be there, they're not in their heart ready to get away from the drug world, wasting every.
And that's what I'm saying. So it's always it's a supply and demand issue. If it was no dope dealers, no suppliers, they gonna go find it. I guarantee you that. That's across the whole world. If you want it, you gonna find it. And it's always gonna be an illicit market wherever. So don't put it all on this family or 37th Street, whatever you want to do.
Everybody's time, wasting taxpayers' money. This is, they are a snapshot of the illegal business community that is causing death and a lesser quality of life for not just the people using the drugs, but for the communities around the people that use the drugs. And they don't care. As long as they get that green cash, they don't care.
Hey, that's most of the people out here in the world. They don't even care about what you saying, Grady. I ain't talking about the dope dealers in general. The people at the top who making millions and millions, they don't care about that. They don't even care. They just want the prop. They want the money. They want the same thing you want. It's the same thing. It's not different.
Low-level, nonviolent crime. Do you find that the more that law enforcement is trying to get that message out there, are you getting any reaction from the community that, hey,
He portrays it like, okay, they doing that. Illegal. If it wasn't for
I
those
think the
criminals,
reasonable
he wouldn't
community
even have no
understands very
job.
well that this is not a low-level nonviolent crime. But you all know, you're the ones that cover the research, covers the activists, covers the people that think us wasting time on drug enforcement when it could be used on something better. Y'all cover those folks. Those folks that presuppose and
Nah, I'm not saying. I'm just saying on the bud side, on the hard drugs. Just like if it's a drug that's so addictive, it's making you rob, steal, and kill. Yeah, you're gonna have to crack down on it, but it's not gonna stop it. You know, that's my only thing. It's not gonna stop it, and the taxpayers we paying, but it's not gonna stop it. You might get that little sale. I call them like how they be in the military. That sale off the street, but it's 20 more sales. It's 20 more sales that got maybe one person in it, two people, three, 50, whatever, who doing it. Because, like I say, they not growing that in their backyard. That's a chemical. Fentanyl is a chemical, so they got to get that chemical from somewhere. Somebody's making it.
take false data on a false basis or false research and perpetuate that, that's what frustrates me, because that leads some kid out here, leads some community members out here to go, it's not that bad. It is that bad. It is that bad. And I'm not telling you from some academic study by some kid who needed to get his master's degree, that he did some kind of skewed little piece of work that somebody put in their local magazine that ended up in the news media. I'm telling you from decades of empirical evidence. Drugs kill. Drugs.
Now, we all know that. But he's telling you, he's telling you really from a Polk County perspective, Florida. Guarantee it's a Polk County perspective from Judge Shady Grady. I'm going to call him Shady Grady just because it rhymes. I don't think he's shady, but I'm not against his perspective. But I know he's biased, but he doing what he got to do for Polk County. Like I said, I never heard of Polk County until I lived in Florida, and then I heard about Polk County. This guy was always on the news, and I like to do reviews with T. Uh, Rest in peace to the lady who OD'd. And that's what I be telling you, young people: don't use drugs, don't sell drugs. Get you a job. You don't got if you like that 21-year-old. He only had that one misdemeanor. Just go on to the military. Just gone to the military. He would get out that whole environment. And then he would come back 4 years later. They'd be all still doing the same thing, but he would get an enlightenment and he'd be making money and have all this stuff. And then he'd be like, they'll be looking down. They might be looking at him or they might be proud, like, hey, they should have did it when they was 20. Look at my military video. Cause that's perfect for a kid like him. You ain't had nothing. They can get him in that. He just got to open his mind and conform.
Ruin lives. Drugs ruin families. People who sell drugs have guns. People who have guns and drugs shoot and kill people. Fentanyl is a newer drug on the market that's popular now. It kills lots of people, thousands of people. Somebody watching some of these television broadcasts or social media broadcasts, you're going to have a loved one or friend die of fentanyl this year. I guarantee it. If they're using drugs and they're using fentanyl.
All right, no more gatekeeping. Let me show you the.
But what he said is a fact. If you using drugs and you buying them off the street, which most likely you are, your chances is hey, hey, especially if you're using them heavy drugs, using meth. It's like I said, I see young people doing meth. I'm like, what? It's just like people who my age who was using crack to use crack. Like I said, that's a sin. Yeah, like I said, it's a sin. But you know what? You know why I never got caught up in that? Because when I was young, I was 13, and my homie told me, don't never do that. You can sell it, but don't ever touch that because you'll become highly addicted and you'll give up everything. And a lot of people did. And I know a couple people, since I was about sixth grade, that's when I first started seeing the hard drugs like cocaine. I didn't see no heroin until later on. The pills have been around, all kind of different kind of pills. Marijuana always. Before I'd been seeing marijuana because older people smoked it, but you just know the smell. But let's continue.
Watching this program will die this year. We have the pill press here. It's magic how that works. And our folks will set it up. We got the captain, and they'll set it up. They will show you how it works. It's quite a sophisticated piece of machinery. They don't sell this at Walmart, at least not yet. You order it or you steal it.
He said, "Not yet." But I bet you one thing you could do, you could build that because it's only components. It's just different components. You got the motor right there. You got a pulley with a belt. Shoot, one of them could have built that. They could have built that because it don't have to be no complicated thing like that. Let's see it.
They put the compounds of the drugs inside the machine, and basically it creates a tablet of whatever drug they've put in there.
Well, turn it on. Let's see it work. Shoot, we want to see it work. The people don't just want to see the machine sitting there and see it work. Since you say that's what it do, because it looked like a heavy machine just to press a pill out. So let's see how it works. Is that the one they're using down at the Bear Aspirin? No, that's not what they're using. I guarantee you that. They don't got no 100,000. They using something else.
And it can put whatever quantities of drug that, and that's what that produces there. And you can tell it's a very heavy piece of machinery, heavy duty, and you don't find these on any search warrant or drug investigation. They're very highly sophisticated in what they're doing in the manufacture of these drugs that are killing families.
We did an operation not long ago where they were pressing the pills, the fentanyl pills, to look like oxycodons, complete with a number on it. So people were thinking they were getting an oxycodone pill, and they were getting a fentanyl stamped pill, and some folks from that operation we learned had died as a result. I think we had 3 or 4 over in the west side, if memory serves me correct, were attached directly to, they thought they were getting one kind of pill commercially when it was bootleg stamped.
See, that's like they took that off a stand. You see how the bolts is, right? You can see them holes on the side right here. This is a bolt hole. That's a heavy machine. It's heavy because the motor inside there. You can see the pulley and all that. I know about that because I worked in manufacturing. Like I said, I got a degree.
And it was really fentanyl.
You could build that machine. If instead of buying one of the machines, if somebody used their brain, you could build that machine. Probably build it these days out of mostly plastic with a 3D printer.
I think 3 or 4 died from that operation. But there's a press. Y'all be safe. Have a good day. Thank you for covering this. And somebody also will be alive because they'll take to heart what y'all do and say today.
I think I'm gonna do a video on the press. I'm gonna find one.